Hello again, fight fans. Welcome to episode 333 of the Neutral Corner Boxing Podcast. I am your host, Michael Montero, on this beautiful, beautiful Monday. And we have a loaded schedule this weekend to preview, guys. So we'll be joined by a guest here in a little bit. We'll do some news and notes. We're going to review fun card that we had last weekend in I was going to say Los Angeles, but it's technically just outside Los Angeles. Let's be technically correct. And we'll preview all sorts of fight action from around the world this weekend. But I got to say, man, as much as we have on the schedule this weekend, there's only one card I'm actually really looking forward to watching live because most of it's showcases. So we'll talk about that stuff. All right, let's jump right into while we're waiting on our guest, let's jump into news and notes. And I'm not going to rehash too much of this because I talked about it on my Friday show. By the way, guys, I skipped right over this, but make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. Click the notification bell. Never miss a live video. Of course, the show goes out on audio podcast platforms everywhere around the world, so you guys can listen to it later there. But if you can catch the show Monday, great. You can join the chat. You can call in. Also, I try to do a show on Friday. I don't get it every Friday. It depends. I mean, you know, I'm busy. I got things going on. But we let it rip a little bit more on Friday. We let some of the curse words go. We have a little fun. We might show some Instagram thoughts, images. We just have fun, right? So maybe it's a little, you know, trigger warning. Get your trigger warning ready if you come over to the Friday show. But I'm just saying, last Friday we had a good time talking about the situation with Conor Benn and performance-enhancing drugs. And that's not all we talked about, but it pretty much dominated the show. We had some great calls, though. It was a lot of fun. So if you haven't listened to that yet, go check it out, all right? We talk about that whole case. So I'm not going to spend half an hour talking about it here. I just want to hit it if you guys haven't seen the Friday show from last week. Conor Benn, of course, he was scheduled to fight Chris Eubank Jr. last weekend in the UK, and he tested positive for what is technically marketed as a female fertility drug, but it's used in doping circles at the end of a doping cycle. So there's absolutely no reason that Conor Benn should have had this in his system. It's a dead giveaway that the guy was juicing using steroids. There was a lot of spin from his promoter, Eddie Hearn, and Matchroom. They tried to put the fight on. They tried to find any way they could to keep that fight on, but ultimately they did the right thing and they postponed the show. So Conor Benn, it remains to be seen what's going to happen to him. But UCAD, UK Anti-Doping, is now saying there might be a 4-year suspension, which is ridiculous. They're not going to do that. At most, the guy might get a year. But again, this is one of those things. He had Clomid is the short name for the drug that was in the system, by the way. And basically you use it to get your testosterone production going again after you're juicing, using steroids, because when you use steroids, you have so much synthetic testosterone that you're pretty much putting into your body that your body stops naturally producing it. So that's why he was doing this. And he can't say, oh, this is tainted beef I ate, or, you know, this is something that, you know, wild boar, like Tyson Fury, right? There's just no excuse for this. So it's like a dead giveaway that the dude was on steroids. And when you look at Conor Benn's recent fights where he's had a couple of explosive knockouts over guys that are generally speaking pretty durable, and the fact that he was bulking up, tried to move up in weight in this fight, just doesn't look good. So I think the dude's definitely going to be suspended. He should be. And look, it's kind of fun watching the spin from certain people in the media, from certain platforms, but also from the promotion. Eddie Hearn himself tried to spin this, right? And I'm not going to get into the whole VADA versus UCAD thing and all that, but he tried to do his spin. But now I guess Steven Espinoza had something to say, and some people from other platforms have spoken up. Props to Mike Coppinger, because he put Steven Espinoza on blast today, saying, you know, because Steven Espinoza, Showtime guy, was basically saying, oh, it's terrible that they were going to try to go forward with this card. And Cop said, well, what about when Eric Morales fought? And it was him and I can't remember who the hell he was fighting, but it was one of the early PBC cards. And he popped for something, and they went forward with that show. I mean, come on, Steven Espinoza has had women beaters who did prison time for beating women on the Showtime platform. So come on, man. All these guys are hypocrites, and it's just funny to watch the spin, man. Super chat from Papa Chubby. What's up, Chad? He said, who? Thanksgiving weekend here, having a beer while I watch today. That's right. For the Canucks. Can I say that? I say that lovingly to my Canadian friends. It's Thanksgiving for you guys up there, man. Happy Thanksgiving for you guys. You're doing it about a month early before we do it down here. You're probably doing a healthier version of what we do down here because us Americans love to eat shitty food. Probably less guns, too, I'm imagining. People here love guns. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Chad, thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate the super chat. All right, let's jump. We'll talk some more about that stuff and some other stuff coming up, guys. But let me jump to my guest hotline here. Let's bring on our guest. Let me also share my screen and bring on Terri the Boss Moss. Terri, what's up?
That screen. Right. That's a great picture, you Mike.
I know. Hey, I had to share the screen because Center Stage, that's the venue that's putting on Atlanta Corporate Fight Night number 15. Used that awesome shot last year with me and Jill Diamond of the WBC. That was such a proud moment. That was such a great event. And this is number 15 that you're putting on Thursday, right, Terri? Is it 15?
Yeah, I'm still doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is our 15th.
Okay.
It's a really good time for us, actually. It's the longest running series that I've got. So and it really one of my most fun shows. I was talking to Thomas Gerbasi today, and I was telling him, he was talking about one time he did a smoker or something like that. And we were talking about why these are so exciting. You know, it's just the guts and the glory and you know, there's not as much technical skill, but all you see is nothing but heart. And those are the fun fights to watch. So they're really great fights.
Yeah. Yeah. So and it's for charity, I should mention. You guys that listen to the show, you remember when I fought on this event last year in the main event. It was very, very special for me because of what I was fighting for, who I was fighting for. It's something that I'll never forget. So for all the people that are fighting in it, they all have their individual reason, right, Terri? And it makes for these great stories. But ultimately, the proceeds from this show go to charity. I think this year, is it Hoodies for the Homeless that you guys are doing?
Yeah, it's an event called Hoodies for the Homeless. If you Google, there's quite a few of those. So we had a little trouble getting the right verbiage out there. But yeah, this is a group called FTP The Movement. They're a nonprofit, and they host this event in Atlanta, and it's it's a clothing drive plus money, of course, to get out there and just literally hit the streets of Atlanta and give out the clothing. We get to do it with them. It's going to be in December, so they'll be bringing clothes. So in other words, this show is going to go on a little bit through December until we continue collecting items and things like that, and then we get to go out there ourselves and distribute it, which is really cool. And then some of the funds are going to purchase things for them as well.
That's awesome. And a lot of people don't realize here in Atlanta in the winter, it gets cold.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised, but like when I moved here from LA, I'm like, we're in Georgia. It's going to be hot as shit all year round, but it's actually cold in the winter. So like, this is a really cool thing for the homeless population. And FTP, those are good guys. Yeah. So what can you tell us about the show and the venue? Because I've never been to Center Stage. That's in Midtown, right?
Yeah. It's a really cool venue because it's all stadium seating. There's not a bad seat in the house, which is why they call it Center Stage. It's every seat in the house is going to be a good show. It's an intimate venue. It only holds about 820 people, something like that. Okay. But it's really good for boxing because, like I said, everybody can see right down into the ring. Nobody's having to look up or look over anybody. It's a pretty cool spot. And it was built, I think 1965 in Atlanta, one of the first theaters they had there. So it's got a really big history, and it's a concert venue, and they literally have. There are a couple other venues connected to it. We're using 2 of them for this show because we're going to have a reunion, an OG reunion.
OG reunion. I'll be there.
Pop up there. We're going to have it's in vinyl right next door, and we'll have some live music and champagne toast. We got a big corporate fight night cake for you guys and some appetizers and things we're passing out. And then, they all come down to some ringside seats, and it'll be really fun. I hope you're going to be there, Mike, for that. You have to have a champagne toast with
well, that's the cool thing. I'm not fighting on this one, so I can drink champagne. Right. And then Tiffany will be there eating. She's happy to have the food. So, yeah, that's really cool. You having the OG reunion for like all the people that have fought on this before.
Right. And we've reached out to as many as we could. But it's, we started this show in 2010.
Okay.
So 15 shows since then. And there are a lot of people we just really lost contact with, but we've got about 50 people coming. So, but we were hoping, I mean, we must have sent invitations out to around 400 boxers, but we just, if you can't find them, you can't find them. So, but we certainly, of course, I didn't want to give that many tickets away, did I?
Yeah, that's too many. That's like, it's too much of that going on.
Yeah. But no,
even like 50 former fighters, 50 people who have fought on this thing. Right. Like for me, it will be cool to talk to some of the people that were in the first few. Right. I know the show, like I was going to ask you when it started. So it goes back over a decade. And I know that it's something that fight fans and sports fans here in Atlanta look forward to because they know what to expect from your shows. They're super, super fun, professional. You know what you're doing. You're the best promoter in Atlanta, bar none. Yeah. I've been to so many shows that I'm just like, I'll turn to my wife and be like, it's such a clusterfuck, and I'm trying to be nice.
Right.
Your shows are awesome. So yeah. Anyway.
Great compliment coming from you, Mike, for sure.
Thank you. Well, it's going to be fun to be there and to not have to worry about fighting. So I can eat and talk and cheer. I can be, and I won't be doing commentary. Oh, look at that. Fight week. Are you getting a call right now?
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
I was just going to say, fight week. You wear 100 different hats. How are you feeling right now? Because I know you probably slept 2 hours last night.
Yeah, I'm just in production. A fight week, it's pretty much just, making sure all the parts are moving in the right place and they're all going to be there on time and, putting all the little ends together. So, the hard work is really earlier on, just putting together, the finances and the fight card and, getting things set up. But now we're on the cruise time. So this is the time I actually like the most. I just get mostly working with my hands, and writing things down.
Right.
So yeah, it's good.
I love all those belts there behind you. That's freaking awesome. I know my collection is not nearly as cool as that. That's pretty dope. You got gloves back there?
Yeah, I got a couple of Abel Aparicio's belts back there, and then 3 or 4 of those are mine. And then I've got a few other ones, some amateur stuff down there.
That's awesome. Yeah. Is Abel going to be there and everybody else?
He should be there. Yeah. Okay. He's been out for, this knee injury and just waiting for this surgery. It's so slow. We're waiting forever, but it's coming. So he's going to be anxious to get back in the ring.
And then what else do you have planned as far as just regular shows at Buckhead Fight Club, like going down the line? Do you have anything else this year or is it all next year?
Yeah. So we have a show. Well, actually, next weekend, I'll be at the Women's Hall of Fame, International Women's Hall of Fame in Las Vegas because I'm in the board of directors right after this show. Right. And that weekend, so I'll be there's a pro show at my gym on the 22nd. Then I've got around the 18th of November, FTP's got another show.
That's right, yeah.
College Fight Night on the 3rd of December. And then on the 9th, I've got a pro show at Center Stage, this same venue. So that's my year wrapped up. Got about
that's great. That's a lot going on. So you're staying busy right through the end of the year. Well, if I can get out of the house, if I can escape, I'll be there. So just let me know.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to broadcast I'd love to have you commentate.
I'm down. I love doing the commentary. Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely down for that.
Have you, Mike? Have you been to one of the College Fight Night shows?
Yeah, I did one last year?
Last year, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it was the captain of the Georgia Tech team.
Oh yeah, right.
He was in the main event, I think. Yeah, it didn't last long, but
he's fighting on this corporate show now. So.
I know, that's right. Yeah, he's fighting this Thursday, so that's cool.
Right, and he graduated, moved out to San Francisco, and just wanted to do this. We actually have 2 tech students on this show. So one of them is a aeronautical engineer. He works for Lockheed, and then the other one that's coming back from the last college show. I'm not sure exactly what. He's some kind of engineer. They're all engineers.
They're a lot smarter than us. Yeah, they're a lot smarter than us. I know that. Right. Okay.
Yeah, but Mike, I've done some really interesting shows. So thinking this is my 15th. On my 3rd show, I did a reunion for the '84 Olympic team. We had them all there except for one deceased that we brought his brother in. That was Steve. Well, now I can't forget. I'm getting old here, Mike. Everybody but one we had there, including Pernell Whitaker, Meldrick Taylor, Virgil Hill, Evander Holyfield, Henry Tillman. They were so fun. And that was one of the most entertaining shows because they got up there and worked corners, and they were placing $1 bets on the fight, $1.
That's hilarious. I've seen the pictures.
Yeah,
and it looked like everybody had a great time that night. So
yeah, we've done some good. And then one, on I think my 12th show, I did the Georgia Aquarium. We had MMA and Muay Thai and kickboxing on that show. So that was pretty cool to have that mixture of things. But so this one here, we're just going to see what happens, from this show and where we go with it and go from there.
How is this year, does it feel different in any way than years past, or is it kind of the same old same?
It's so when I started this, I had to go through a lot of hoops to, just to get my get the show off the ground. As I said, I was talking to Thomas Gerbasi, and he was talking about how they did the smokers at Gleason's, but they weren't really sanctioned fights. And, USA Boxing caught wind of it and said, if anybody fights on that show, they can't do the Golden Gloves. And, it was kind of where it was when I started this. So when I tried to it took me about 2.5 years to get the first show off the ground because I went through hoops with USA Boxing and the local LBC we had here, and then got all kinds of approval. And then even Andy Foster, who's now the California State Athletic Commission director, he did he was Georgia at that time, and he did a cease and desist. You can't have that show. So we went through a lot to get it off the ground. But now there's so much going on. There are Masters tournaments, and in the UK, I think they have like, it's a whole another level of boxing, like your amateur pro or white collar, and they win championships and everything over there. Yeah. And so there's just so much more out there now that it's definitely, I'm seeing a little bit of downsize on our show, but to center stage, it's like we're moving into more of a grittier fight venue than just a plush ballroom and, the Georgia Aquarium and, things like that.
Last year, Buckhead Theater, right?
Yeah. That was
that's like, that was posh. That was like,
yeah, it's posh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll still dress this one up. So this is going to have a lot more fight feel to it than, a ballroom, but it's definitely going to be great. So.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely be there for the OG reunion, and I can have a couple drinks this time. Not too many because I got to drive, but I'll have a couple. And we'll hang out. It'll be a lot of fun. If people in the Atlanta area watching this, all my Atlanta peeps, if you guys want to get tickets, go to Center Stage, go to their website. I have it pulled up right here. You can buy tickets right there. And then can they do it through Ticketmaster too? Yeah,
Ticketmaster.com. Yep. We're sold out of our tickets. So all that's left is what's on the Ticketmaster side.
Yeah, because you're sold out with all your stuff, right?
Yeah, we sold all ours.
All right. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So the only place to get them now is online, right?
Yes, online or at the door. You can get them at the door.
Okay. All right, cool.
If you want to choose your seat, you can get them online there.
All right. And Amy's coming out, Amy Green. I think she's going to be here Wednesday, right?
Yeah, she doesn't know, but we're giving her a special award because she's the original OG. She was there for the very first show, before it actually, when we first started kicking it off. So she's been there since since Fight Night 1. So we're going to give her a special award and
that's cool.
And, honor her. She's been a big help to our promotion, all of my shows. She's been with me for many, many years. So yeah,
she's awesome. So she's actually who introduced us. So
that's right.
How cool is that?
Yeah, very cool.
All right. Well, I'll see you Thursday, and then we'll work some of these other shows toward the end of the year. And then once I get my butt back in shape, I'll fight on some of them next year.
Get in there, Mike.
So all right.
We're lucky we got you. We have you here in Atlanta now, so we can pull you into all of our events. But
yeah,
that's really
hold me in there kicking and screaming. Just don't tell my wife; she might yell at me. But no, it's all good. She's totally supportive.
Hey, she's gonna have that baby, and she'll be on the next show.
That's what I'm telling her. We need to get her on one.
I'm sure she will. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Terri, the boss.
Thank you so much, Mike.
What's up?
I said thank you so much.
Okay. Atlanta Corporate Fight Night 15 Thursday night. I'll see you soon. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks again, Mike.
Ciao. All right, there she goes, guys. Again, for my Atlanta peeps, make sure you check out centerstage.com. I think it's centerstage.com. Let me double check. Centerstage-atlanta.com. And that's where you guys can get tickets. And then you can get them at the door. I haven't been to this venue, but I heard it's a lot of fun. So I'll let you guys know all about it. But Terri, I've had her on the show a few times, and I'll continue to have her on the show because she's awesome. And she's a true club promoter. And she started doing this, guys, when some of the different events that she's doing right now that you see more of now, where you see like juniors, masters, women's tournaments, college cards, college amateur teams boxing against each other. And then the white collar stuff, all this stuff. Terri started doing it a while ago. It's been over a decade. And now you're seeing it popping up like in every city, right? She's kind of one of the OGs in doing it as a female, and just hanging around her and her business associates and the way they do it. They don't remind you every 5 seconds that they're females. They're just boxing people. She's a former fighter herself. Pretty awesome lady. And we always have a great time at her shows. So any of you guys in Atlanta, make sure you check it out. And then when some of the next pro show comes on, I do commentary. That will be broadcast. I will let you guys know the links and all that, so you guys can check it out. And you see me do my thing, ringside, and then you see some really fun fights. The club shows, man, telling you, it's where it's at. More and more of the so-called big shows that we see, it's just showcase after showcase. You know who's going to win. I gotta say, I'm getting more and more interested in going to the club shows again, because that's where I actually see real fucking fights. Anyway, all right. Let's go back to I hit some news and notes real quick. And Chad says Atlanta's lucky to have her. Dude, the boxing community here, there's still some old school guys that kind of, I think, don't fully respect her because she's a woman. They're dumb, because she's like promoting laps around some of these other guys. And there's been a couple of, like, there was a PBC show they did recently here. I'm not going to get into details. It was like a mid-level, show. But it was one of their guys from New York came down and did a show here, and it was a complete clusterfuck because he didn't listen to her. So the guys that know, trust her and work with her, and they do good business. She understands this market. She's taught me a lot about this market since I moved here. All right, let's get into the review and talk about what we saw last weekend, and then we will look at a full preview of this weekend. We got a lot to talk about. So last Saturday night in Carson, California, it was PBC on Showtime, and a very, very sparse crowd there at the Dignity Health Home Depot Center, whatever the hell it's called, to see Sebastian Fundora score a unanimous decision win over Carlos Ocampo. I'll briefly talk about this one. I don't even know how much I need to talk about this fight, because here's the thing. So Ocampo, people remember when he fought Errol Spence a few years back, it was blown out in one round in a welterweight fight, right? And now he's at 154, and he's fighting Sebastian Fundora, who's coming off a fight of the year contender. If you don't have Fundora Lubin as your fight of the year, that's okay, but you have to admit it's somewhere in the top three or four of them. It's right up there, right? So coming off of that, people just expected this blowout. And it doesn't surprise me one bit that this fight went to distance. Now, Ocampo had more success than I expected. He landed a lot of leather on Fundora. Clearly, Fundora really didn't, respect his power and everything. And maybe he was playing possum at times and stuff like that, trying to lure him in. But Fundora didn't look great in this fight. He didn't look as good as he had looked in the Lubin fight, where he took punishment. Fundora's defense isn't very good, but at his size, he's so lumbering at 154. He's going to get hit. He's not hard to hit. It's a big target, right? And he's not the most nimble guy, at that size. And, he's very thin. It's just straight up and down, right? You're going to land shots on the guy. But this is the kind of developmental fight that Fundora needs. He's a young guy. And he did get hit, but he didn't take a lot of punishment. He wasn't busted up and cut up and bruised up after this fight. He won. I scored it like 9 rounds to 3. Some people thought that was, the scorecards were too wide. I was good with it. I thought that he clearly won, although it was competitive, particularly in little bursts of rounds that Ocampo did good. But all in all, I thought Fundora, did the better work throughout, won the fight. He needs rounds, dude. Now, did this fight prepare him for a shot at the Charlo Zoo winner next year? No, not really. But is he more prepared now than he was 2 weeks ago before these 12 rounds? Yes, he is. The 12 rounds of experience, the lackluster performance, the criticism he's going to get from this, all of it will make him slightly better. Now, again, It's not the opponent that's going to prepare him for the elite. He needs to fight a who else was on this card? Maybe a Egidijus Kavaliauskas, a mean machine. Like, he needs to fight a guy like that to help him get more prepared. Maybe a Tony Harrison type, somebody like that. Okay, that's going to help get him a little more acclimated to the higher level where he needs to be. But man, dude, clearly this was a stay busy fight. Clearly Fundura came in maybe overlooking Ocampo, regardless of everything he told me and everybody else in media when he was interviewed. He clearly took this guy a little bit lightly. It didn't come in with the same vigor he came in against Lubin with. And maybe he performed under expectations. But you guys, this isn't the NBA where there's 82 games a year. You know, like in the NBA, you have an off night once a week. It's okay. You know, in Major League Baseball, it's the same thing. But in boxing, if you fight twice a year and one night isn't your best performance, well, people look at that and they judge. I wasn't surprised at this. This doesn't change my opinion of Sebastian Fundora. He still won the fight. He got in 12 rounds. Yeah, he at times in this fight, it looked like maybe he wasn't 100% motivated or wanted to be there. And he was just kind of doing this because his promotion told him to. But he knew that he could kind of get in there and do just enough and still win pretty clearly. And that's kind of what he did. Well, guarantee you, if he fights Mean Machine next, or he fights a Tony Harrison, someone like that next, he'll be a lot more motivated. Trust me on this. All right. So this card, the guy who stole the show for me was Carlos Adames. He scores a KO3 win over Juan Messias Montiel, wins an interim middleweight belt, which it was I think the WBC. So it makes him essentially the mandatory for Jamal Charlo. So at some point in early 2023, I hope it's January or February, but knowing that company, it's probably going to be later in the year. But we should get Jamal Charlo versus Carlos Adames. All things considered, it's probably going to be Charlo's best opponent in years. Seriously. Now, Montiel, styles make fights. So I think it surprised some people that Adames was so dominant, blasting about the way he did, but styles make fights. Great performance. Now he's in line. I don't mind that fight. Charlo Adames. Is it the fight that I want? No, but I get it. And I like that fight. And the WBC, hooking up PBC here, doing business with them to justify the eventual Charlo Adames fight. It's a pretty good matchup. Not great, but pretty good. Also, Fernando Martinez, as I predicted Friday, defeated Jerwin Ancajas again, retains his junior bantamweight belt. I need to correct a mistake I made in my Friday show. I said that Ancajas has been with PBC his entire title reign. That is untrue. I made a mistake. I forgot that he's actually, his true promoter technically has been Manny Pacquiao's promotional company. He's a fellow Filipino, right? But he was promoted by Top Rank for several years, up until like 2018, I think 2019, actually. He's been with PBC since the pandemic, after the return from the pandemic. So it's only recently he's been on there. So the fact that Top Rank didn't match him very tough. Now, PBC's matched him even lighter and it cost him. But Top Rank, I think, just didn't believe in him. They weren't ready to do business with other companies and match Ancajas with the Chocolatitos, the Rungvi size, those guys, because they knew that he was a level below that maybe. And we've seen that. He's just not on that level. One of the weaker title runs, actually the weakest title run in that division in recent years. But Martinez, let's talk more about him. These are two good wins for him. He's on the map now. I think he's 15-0 out of Argentina. He's definitely a guy to watch out for. The youth is taking over in that division. The new school's here. I know that we're going to get Estrada Chocolatito, that third fight in December. That's going to kind of be the last vestiges of that generation, which has been great, freaking great, right? But Bam Rodriguez, Martinez, some of these other young cats coming up, they're ready to take over. And I think starting next year and going forward, they're going to be the guys in that division. I think Bam Rodriguez is the class of that division. But at some point, if we get Bam and Fernando in the ring together, hey, it's gonna be fantastic, man. And we'll probably see it sooner rather than later. All right, also on this card, as I mentioned before, Egidijus Kavaliauskas, one of my favorite names to say. Unanimous decision win over Michael Fox in this was a welterweight fight. And look, if you look at Mean Machine, I think this guy doesn't get enough respect. He's a good fighter. His only losses have been to Virgil Ortiz and Terrence Crawford. There's no shame in that. Guy's a quality fighter. So now, does he fight Fundura next? Does he stay at welterweight and fight somebody there? I don't know. But either way, I'd like to see him in the ring again very, very soon. He's a good fighter who's underrated. Okay. Papa Chubby says, I love Martinez. Love him. He cries like a baby, but that's okay. Sam says, Martinez, great fighter, but doesn't finish like Adamus did. Yeah, he's not. Again, styles make fights. Adamus was explosive as hell this weekend, man. He really had performance of the night. Right? Am I right or am I right? He had a performance of the night on that card. Really, truly did. Okay. Now, let's preview, shall we? Let's do the preview. Nacho says, Martinez is in the mix at 115 for sure. A nice addition to the division. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, this Saturday, October 15th, we have boxing all over the freaking place. So let's start in South Brisbane, Australia, Matchroom on the Zone. This is kind of a battle of the Aussies, this card. None of these fighters are stars. In fact, none of them are really champions. They're local. It's a domestic card, but there's a lot of Aussie versus Aussie stuff on this card. So I think it's going to do well. And I like when Eddie Hearn and Matchroom do these sorts of cards, right? We've seen them do this kind of stuff in Italy, in Spain, in Uzbekistan. So they're doing it in Australia here. Liam Paro, 22-0, going up against Bach Jarvis, 20-0, 140 pounders. That's the headliner. And then Sky Nicholson, an Instagram model who you guys might enjoy looking at. She's fighting. I think this is only like her 4th or 5th fight. Hasn't fought anybody with a pulse yet, so we'll find out at some point if she can fight. But the fellas sure do like watching her fight, if you know what I mean. Okay, also in Australia, but this is technically the 16th. Technically, it is, over there, it's Sunday the 16th. But here in America, in the West, it will air on the night of Saturday the 15th on ESPN. DeBella Entertainment and Top Rank promoting the show. It's a joint venture in Melbourne. ESPN starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. Devin Haney and George Kambosos Jr. fighting once again for the undisputed lightweight championship of the world. The first bout was back in June. It was very, very one-sided. 9-3 is the closest you could score that fight. I think one judge may have had it 8-4, like 116, 112. But you could honestly score that fight 118, 110. It was really that one-sided, right? So a lot of people are asking, well, why the hell are we getting it again? Because it was part of the original deal. A rematch clause was worked into the deal. For Devin Haney to get the fight, he had to agree not only to come to Australia, but to come to Australia twice. This is not on Haney one bit. This is all on the Kambosos side. And a lot, he had the belts. He was the champ at that time. So he kind of dictated the terms. It's understandable. He was the A side. He still is. Even though he's coming off a loss, he's still the promotional A side because this is still a big fight in Australia. It's still going to do numbers over there. And a lot of people have asked, well, why the hell would Kambosos take this fight again? Because he was dominated in that first fight. I got about 7 figures why. Okay, he's going to get paid again. He's going to get a massive payday. I do think he can do better. I do think maybe the scorecards will be closer. But in the end, Devin Haney's still going to win this fight running away. It's still going to be maybe a 116, 112 kind of a fight. Again, I've talked about this before, but, I'm more interested in what Devin Haney can do different. We kind of know the level and the ceiling, the cap for Kambosos. who's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's a good fighter. And stylistically, Haney's just all wrong for him. All wrong for him. But there are plenty of other lightweights in the world. I'm talking top 10 lightweights that Kambosos can match up with very well and have a lot of success with. Haney's just all wrong for him. And if we're being honest, Haney's going to be eventually a welterweight. He's massive for lightweight and just stylistically all wrong for George. So, yeah, I like Haney again, big in this fight. Probably going to go the distance because Haney can't punch through a wet paper bag. I'd like to be wrong about that, though. I'd like to see Haney show us another level. Now that he's got 12 rounds in the books, fought on the road for the first time as a pro, fought on the big stage for the first time as a pro in that first fight in June. You got that all out of your system. You learned all those lessons. Now, let's see what you can do a second time around when you know this dude. You know what he's going to bring. You know what he's going to do. There's nothing brand new he's going to come with this time. So let's see Haney step on the gas. And if he could actually hurt Kambosos, drop him, put him down, beat him up, get him out of there, that would be very, very impressive. And it would go a long way to developing and building Haney's brand. Because I'm telling you right now, there are so many people who were so bored in that first fight when it was so clear that Haney's just so much better than Kambosos. He just is. And it felt at times like he was just playing with his food and doing just enough. And people want to see more from a young, hungry, young lion like Haney. They want to see more from him. So let's see if he could do it. Also on this card, the Maloney brothers are fighting. So that's smart for the promotion to put those guys on the card. All right, so let's, before we get to the all-ladies con, it's ladies night in London, let's jump over here to America at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, just outside the city there, across the river in Brooklyn. TGB Promotions, Fox pay-per-view. The P word, pay-per-view. Yeah. So Deontay Wilder making his ring return from the losses to Tyson Fury, going up against Robert Helenius. This is must win for Deontay Wilder. We'll talk more about that in a second. Also, the co-main, Caleb Plant, making his ring return since his loss, knockout loss to Canelo last November, going up against Anthony Darrell. Also, we have Gary Antonio Russell fighting Emmanuel Rodriguez. This is a rematch of bantamweights. They fought for the first time last August. That fight ended with an accidental headbutt for Russell. This is his first fight of 2022. For a really young, developing prospect, that sucks. You just want to see more. For this to be his first fight, that's more than a year out of the ring for a young guy. Yeah, that's tough. Also, heavyweights, Frank Sanchez, a Cuba native, going up against Puerto Rican native Carlos Negron. Both live in Miami now. This is a complete setup showcase for Sanchez. So let's start there. Carlos Negron has been stopped 3 times. When he steps up, he gets stopped. I think one of them was like a first round stoppage, if I'm not mistaken. So Frank Sanchez, who is about as entertaining to watch as paint drying on the wall, highly skilled. He's every bit the Cuban fighter stereotype, right? There are some exciting Cubans, like Luis Ortiz is an exciting Cuban heavyweight. Kind of defies those stereotypes. Irizlandi Lara later in his career has become more exciting. But Frank Sanchez just holds up to every single Cuban stereotype, when it comes to boxing, right? I mean, down to the look, the way he fights, everything. This is a chance for him. What management is doing here is handing him the basketball 2 feet from the basket and moving all the defenders up to the bench and saying, here you go. You got a layup. Show us something, right? And they're hoping that he does something impressive. So for Sanchez, he has to get a stoppage in this fight, and he will, but what kind of stoppage is it going to be? An accumulation stoppage, where the ref comes in and, where Negron kind of gives you the body language, I don't really want to be here anymore, gives the ref an excuse to stop it, like that sort of thing? Or do we see a one-punch knockout here? Do we see a highlight reel kind of knockout where Sanchez catches Negron with a shot he doesn't see coming, which he's very capable of doing, and it puts him down. It creates a very entertaining little 10, 15-second clip that they can take and put on the Instagrams and the Twitters and all that good stuff. It is up to Sanchez to do that. He's 412 years old. I think they're listing him at, 30-something? But he's clearly not. Time is of the essence. If you're going to make some waves, now's the time. This matchup is about as good as you're going to get for the Sanchez people. Make it happen, brother. All right, Russell versus Rodriguez. So this was last year a step-up fight for Russell. It's unfortunate that it ended the way they did. I know that they wanted to do the rematch. They had to wait, for injuries to heal and all that good stuff. But Jesus, it's been 15 months or something since that first fight. So I'm hoping that we get a fight with not too much ring rust, and both of these guys pick up right where they left off. You got to favor Russell here by decision. I think that's what we'll get. Possible late stoppage. That could happen too. Caleb Plant versus Anthony Darrell. I talked about the fact that Plant hasn't fought in almost a year, right? He got knocked out last November. Coming back, he's almost a year out of the ring for him. There's just a theme with these guys. They fight maybe once this year. Several of them have not fought at all this year. But, first time fighting in a year. Plant is a guy who depends on boxing. He's not a power puncher, doesn't push guys back, right? So he needs movement and boxing. That's what he depends on to win fights. There's going to be some ring rust there. That might cost him early. But Darrell, here's the thing about Darrell. He's only been stopped once. That was against David Benavidez. So neither of these guys are big punchers, particularly Plant. He's not a very big puncher at all. Darrell, a little bit more explosive than Plant, but not a whole lot. This is probably going to distance. I would probably bet the over. I just hope it doesn't put all of us to sleep, because style-wise, this could either be a very interesting tactical chess match kind of a fight, or it could go the other way and be really boring. So I hope it doesn't turn into that. I favor Plant by decision. And then the main event, let's talk about this. Deontay Wilder, Robert Helenius. Now, people are talking about the fact that Wilder's lost a step. He's coming off of these absolute beatings to Fury, where part of his life was taken in those fights, not just his career. That's all true. He's also, I said this was must win because he's lost 2 in a row. We won't even talk about the first fight with Fury. The last 2, obviously he lost by knockout, right? And so if he loses this fight, that's 3 in a row. And it's 3 in a row. If he loses this fight, by the way, there's no way Helenius could get a decision in this fight. He will have to win 10 rounds to get a draw, right? We know this. So the only way Helenius wins is if it's by knockout. So if Wilder loses this fight, that's 3 knockouts in a row. Even the cult members of the Church of Deontay at that point would start to fizzle out, and they'll jump on to the tank thing, right? They're already, some of them are starting to go to that church already. But the Church of Wilder still has plenty of parishioners. They brought this guy in to get knocked out. That's why Helenius is there. It is up to Wilder to do the job. Now, some people are saying, well, what if Helenius catches Wilder? Because the punch resistance is gone, this, that. Listen, guys, I don't see all that. I just don't. The losses to Fury were because Wilder was just never as good as advertised. Still a top 10 heavyweight, all right? But he was never this elite level Hall of Fame kind of guy that he was being marketed as. And Fury got in there and just kind of bullied the dude, right? Do I see Helenius getting in there and doing that? No, I just don't. Helenius is tailor-made for what Wilder does. Wilder has one thing that he does: long right hand. He needs someone who is not very fleet of foot. He needs someone that doesn't move their head a lot. He needs someone that gets tired as rounds go on and starts to wear down in the middle rounds, drop their hands a bit, not move their head quite as much. He needs a guy that's going to stand upright. He also needs a guy that isn't too short, that can get under his shots, that's kind of right there to be hit. Man, that's Helenius. That head is right on the line. It's going to be right there for him. Deontay is going to paw with the jab and move Helenius where he wants him and then shoot the right. I think Helenius, who does do a good job keeping his head back, He doesn't move it a lot, but Helenius keeps his head back, kind of on the back shoulder a little bit, and gets his left hand out there to keep distance, right? He'll do a good job of avoiding it a little bit, the early rounds, but at some point, Deontay is going to land that missile, and it's going to put Helenius out of there. Here's the thing. I get that Helenius had these 2 big knockouts over Adam Kovnacki recently. Adam Kovnacki was never nearly as good as he was advertised as. But also, I've noticed something about Helenius. I looked back at some of his fights this week when I was breaking this one down. Robert Helenius does not do good against tall, long fighters. He doesn't. In the fights where he was stopped, the fights where he struggled, it was against tall, long, rangy guys. Gerald Washington stopped him. Johan Duapas stopped him. Neither one of those fighters are going to be mistaken with Ernie Shavers, let alone Vladimir Klitschko, Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe. No. Those guys are not huge power punchers. They're not skillful craftsmen at the elite level. Those guys are able to stop Helenius. They're tall. They're rangy. They do have some athleticism, both Duapas and Washington. Wilder has more. Wilder's faster, more athletic, more powerful, more explosive. So if those guys, because they were punching straight at the target, could stop Helenius, so will Deontay Wilder. Trust me on this. I think the odds are like 9-1 on that fight. The odds makers aren't stupid. Now, if Helenius did win, I'm not going to say it would shock me, oh my God, this is like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But it would be the upset of the year. It'd be the biggest upset of the year. Name me a bigger upset in 2022 than Helenius beating Wilder, even with Wilder getting knocked out twice in a row. Seriously, name me a bigger one. The odds makers know what they're doing. Wow, Sam says it's 15-1. There you go. So those of you out there who are thinking Helenius has a real serious chance here, you're falling into the promotional hype. Stop being so gullible. John Uden asked an interesting question. He says, does Helenius working with Wilder and sparring in the past help him at all? It actually helps Wilder more. Wilder took a page out of Vladimir Klitschko's playbook and Lennox Lewis's playbook. Emmanuel Stewart, one of the genius things that he would implement as a trainer is he would have his champions spar with all the young guys coming up so they could see them and what they do. And Wilder got to work with Helenius. I actually think that helps Deontay. Think about this, John. Between Helenius and Wilder, which one can do more innovative, just athletic things in the ring? That's Wilder, right? Everything Helenius can do, Wilder's seen it. Now, Helenius has seen what Wilder could do, but there's certain things on fight night when you turn shit up, right? When you turn up the volume on the speakers, there's certain shit Wilder can do that you only see on fight night that Helenius hasn't seen yet, if that makes any sense. Okay. The fight doctor checking in. He says the fact that Wilder Helenius is on pay-per-view is a complete joke. Yeah. By the way, that brings me to a segue, man. That's a great comment, bro, because that brings me to a segue. I got to show you guys this tweet that I posted because boy, did it bother people. There's been a graphic going around showing the PBC pay-per-views this year. I think there's been 6 of them, and we got I think one more before the end of the year, something like that. Anyway, I track, you guys that follow the show, you know that I track, or I've started to since 2019. I've looked at the three-headed monster in American boxing. That's the 3 big platforms, right? There's Fox, Showtime, there's DAZN, there's ESPN. And I've kind of had a running comparison of who's providing the most value. And I'll do that video again at the end of this year. I'll show you in 2022 how much it costs to be a fan if you had all 3 of these platforms and you watched all the fights. I put this graphic together, and I tweeted this today. And this is every pay-per-view that Showtime / Fox has had since 2019. Now, why have I tracked it since then? because HBO Boxing blew up at the end of 2018, right? The last big pay-per-view they had was the Canelo Golovkin rematch. So when that happened, you eventually got this three-headed monster, right? And again, you got DAZN, you got ESPN, you got Fox Showtime. And now people will look at Fox Showtime right now as PBC. Right now, ESPN is Top Rank. And then Golden Boy, Matchroom, and a few others, they're over at DAZN. But the thing is, dude, if you look back far enough, there was a time where PBC, Al Heyman, before it was PBC, Al Heyman's fighters were working with Golden Boy Promotions, and Richard Schaefer was there too. Richard Schaefer has his own thing now. They were all working together on HBO, right? And then Top Rank used to be on HBO. Main Events used to be over there. So there was like, these guys have all switched different platforms, okay? So I'm not really even focusing on the promoter, just the actual platform here. Fox Showtime, over the last 4 years, since the old structure kind of blew up and we got this three-headed monster, it's not even close, dude. DAZN has charged pay-per-views, and I've been highly critical. You guys here on this show heard me bash the shit out of DAZN for saying, oh, we're the death to pay-per-view, right? We're going to kill pay-per-view. And then what do? They start doing pay-per-view. And the price is ridiculous. If you're already paying a monthly subscription, you shouldn't have to pay $60, or the case, the last one was $65 for the pay-per-view. I bashed the shit out of that. I've bashed Top Rank's pay-per-views. The Fury Dillian White pay-per-view. The fact that that was pay-per-view here in America, that's a fucking joke. That's a bigger joke than Wilder Helenius being pay-per-view in America. Seriously. So, like, I've been fair across the board on this. But if we're just looking at the facts, dude, PBC has had $1,790 worth of pay-per-view in the last 4 years. That doesn't even include your subscription to Showtime, which is, I don't know, $10, $12 a month. So, like, that's your subscription over the last 4 years has been, let's say, I don't know, $500 plus this. You're spending $2,300 in the last 4 years just to be a fan of boxing that watches these PBC fights on Fox/Showtime. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. And so this Wilder Helenius one is just the latest. And we can argue over the reasons why all these fights have gone to pay-per-view. The blame is shared, but ultimately, if you look back when PBC first went over to Fox and started doing shows there, Fox, CBS, this level of show, let's be honest, guys, in 2018, I'd say even 2019, Wilder versus Helenius, Plant versus Darrell, this shit's on Showtime. This is like a doubleheader on Showtime. Let's be honest. So it has changed. The platforms over there, the networks, I should say, are not willing to pay the money that is required to cover these fighters' purse demands. That's what's going on over there. And it's, I show this graphic and I talk about this for those of you listening on the audio, not to bash anybody. I want PBC to succeed. I want boxing on Fox and Showtime to succeed. PBC is the biggest American promoter, specifically of American fighters, because the other American promotions, they have American fighters, but they also have more international fighters, right? So the biggest platform in America with the most American fighters is struggling to where their networks won't even pay the money for the fights to be broadcast. They have to go to pay-per-view all the time. That's not healthy. That's not good. It doesn't help build the sport. And so, like, I'm not trying to beat up on anybody. I'm certainly not trying to take sides or do anything like that. I want success. But, like, this model concerns me because my primary focus and my prerogative is to give things from the perspective of the fight fans, number one, and the fighters, number two, and the overall health of the sport, number three. You know, what I think that the role of media is to be skeptical and challenge authority, and always do that. Always fight for the voice of the people. Okay, well, the people here would be the fans and the fighters. The establishment would be the promoters, the sanctioning organizations, the testing groups, the commissions. That's the man, right? So I'm supposed to question the man. I'm supposed to be skeptical. I'm supposed to ask these questions and bring up these concerns because I'm fighting for the people. That's the fans. That's me. That's you. And the fighters themselves. So me showing a graphic like this, it's not to root against anybody or beat up on anybody. It's to literally just do what I'm supposed to do. That's the role of media. You're supposed to question everything and be skeptical of everything. But anyway, I had to bring that up because of that segue. All right. Before I preview this ladies' night card, let me check on these super chats. I want to make sure I didn't miss nothing. We got one from Sam here. Thank you so much, Sam. He says, George, not a chance in hell, Kambosos. I hate to say it, dude, because I like George. Again, fun fighter, just not on Devin Haney's level. I completely agree with you. Devin Haney is just better than him in pretty much every category, except maybe power. That's the only one. Another one from Sammy says, wow, Wilder went down to negative 775 today. What the F? What's that mean, Sam? So what were the odds higher and they've narrowed up a little bit? Let me know, because it seems to me that the odds were really, really wide at one point. So if they've narrowed this week, I just think that's idiots buying in at the last minute, which they always do. And the really smart gamblers are going to take advantage of that. Unless like somebody heard something, there's something going on in camp that we don't know about. I don't know. I don't see any way. I mean, of course, if Helenius connects with a big right hand or something, of course he could win, but he'd have to literally win the lottery, dude. Wilder's just a better fighter. Okay, that's what I thought. So X8 says it means people are betting on Helenius. And Sam said it went from 15-1 to 7-1 today. You said Haney is 7-1 also. Haney should be 7-1. But for the Wilder Helenius odds to move that much, there's some fuckery afoot. I just think that if it's moved to 7-1, then Wilder by stoppage is an even safer bet than it was before. All right, real quick. Actually, I might need a minute to talk about this. O2 Arena in London, ESPN Plus here in the States. All right. 2:30 p.m. Eastern time is the start date of the ESPN Plus broadcast of this card in the States. So I just want to put that out there, 2:30 Eastern time. And this is an all-female card. Normally, I don't like stuff like that. It's gimmicky and it's making it, I don't know, it's just making it political, right? But in this case, you're featuring some of the best female fighters in the world, and you're featuring, almost undisputed. One's an undisputed championship, and one's almost undisputed. So, with the high level of boxing you have here, like I get this. I actually think it's pretty cool. So the main event: Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall. Shields is bringing the WBC, IBF, WBA middleweight belts. Marshall is bringing the WBO. So this will be complete unification for undisputed. We love undisputed here, right? And there have been some recent undisputed fights, particularly in men's boxing, where you weren't getting the two best in the division. You weren't. It just, things were working out a certain way. But here in this case, these are the two best fighters in this division by far. In fact, they're the only two elite fighters in the division, because north of 147, there's maybe 2 or 3 elite female fighters in the entire world. Maybe 2 or 3. This is 2 of them. So I like this matchup a lot. And then the co-main, Michaela Mayer versus Alicia Baumgartner. Mayer is bringing the WBO and IBF junior lightweight fights. Baumgartner is bringing the WBC. Let's talk about that fight first. So you look at these two girls face them. First of all, let me say this. The female card, way better matchups in terms of odds and pick 'em, right, than all the male boxing this weekend. Hey, I got to say it. It's not me trying to be woke. It's not me trying to kiss ass. I'm just telling you guys the truth. These two fights are better on paper. I'm not saying they'll translate to better action in the ring. Don't mistake me. I'm saying they're better on paper in terms of odds than all the guys boxing. That's just the truth. This particular fight, you look at Mayer, you look at Baumgardner, and to the naked eye, Baumgardner with her ripped muscles, right? She's jacked. She's the most jacked female fighter in all of boxing, maybe in all of women's boxing history. She's more jacked than most of the male fighters. So on the surface, you're looking at this and you're going, how the hell can this tall, skinny chick beat this jacked chick? Also, when you look at the fact that Mayer can't punch for shit, she has zero power. Baumgardner's actually stopped some girls. Everyone remembers her stopping Terry Harper last year. So that was like a knockout of the year contender. At least it was the knockout of the year for women's boxing. People remember these things. And so they look at this, and on the surface, they're like, dude, this is Baumgardner's got to be the favorite, right? Well, to the more astute eye, the more knowledgeable boxing fan, you could start to read between the lines here. And honestly, I think this is a very one-sided fight, but in the other direction. When you look at the amateur credentials, Michaela Mayer went to the Olympics. She fought the best women in the world in and around her weight class. And at 130, there is talent in women's boxing in those lower weight classes. There really is. The talent really goes up when you go down to like 118 and stuff like that. But like right around there, 126, 130, 135, there's some real talent. There really is. So Mayer has fought some of the best girls in the world as an amateur because she went as far as you could go as an amateur. Baumgardner didn't. She had a very short amateur career, came to boxing really, really late. And she's improved dramatically since she started. She's a lot better. But if you look at her resume, amateur and pro, and compare it to Mayer's resume, it's night and day. Mayer has fought the better fighters. She is battle tested. She has the skills and the experience. And when it comes to boxing and other martial arts, not necessarily wrestling, but kickboxing, boxing, martial arts where you're on your feet, where it's stand-up, it's often better to be tall and long than short and compact and jacked. The short, like Alicia's build is better for wrestling and MMA. That's where that build is, I would say, more of an asset, more of an advantage. In boxing, in kickboxing, martial arts where again, you're on your feet. You have to use length. Being tall and long actually makes you stronger, particularly over a long fight. When you're going 8, 10, 12 rounds, that build serves you better than the other build. So don't be surprised if on the inside, when these two girls get tangled up, if it's Mayer having her way more than Baumgardner. Seriously. On the outside, Mayer is going to be able to land shots and get out of the way and do those sorts of things. She can't punch for shit. So Baumgardner is going to be able to come in, bum rush her, and throw some wild, crazy stuff. It is up to Mayer to slip all that, block all that, catch it, frustrate Baumgardner, touch her, turn her, repeat. Touch, turn, repeat, and do that for 10 rounds. I think she will. I think she'll win this fight maybe 97-93. There are comparisons in this matchup, not exact, all right? Don't jump down my throat, but there are comparisons in this matchup to when Katie Taylor fought Amanda Serrano, okay? And I'm sure you know where I'm going with that comparison. The difference is Katie Taylor gets dumb in fights, and she wants to get into a brawl, and she stops boxing. If she would have boxed Serrano, she would have won a virtual shutout. But she started getting into a brawl with her, and it cost her. I don't see Mayer doing that. I think Mayer is much more disciplined than Katie Taylor in that regard, and she's also not dumb. She knows if she stands there and trades with Baumgardner, she's getting slept. She has to box. I think she will. I think she's going to win this fight, probably 7-3, somewhere in that range. I think that's what we see. All right, main event, Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall. Now, this is the one where, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but the odds have been like 50-50 for this pretty much the whole way through. 50-50 odds. This one is a little tougher to dissect. And I keep thinking about it. I get that both fighters are going to be facing the best opponent of their pro career. Both of them. Shields is going to be facing her toughest opponent stylistically, and Marshall's going to just be facing the best opponent she's ever fought in a boxing ring, period. So there's that. A lot of people are pointing to the fact that about a decade ago, Marshall beat Shields in the amateurs. I've been saying all along, that don't mean shit. It was a decade ago. Shields was nowhere near as experienced as Marshall was at the time. Shields was just a pup. Marshall, it's not like, I can't remember the exact scores, but I want to say it was still fairly competitive. Marshall won, but later on, because that was, I think, the World Championships, later on in the Olympics, the girl that knocked Marshall out of the Olympics, not physically knocked out, but I mean knocked her out of the Olympics, meaning she beat her. Shields beat that girl. Shields has shown marked improvement since then. She's way, way better. Now, Marshall's improved too. But if you look at the pro resumes of these two women, neither one of them is great. Shields' resume is vastly overrated. I want to say like 9 of the 12 belts she's won were inaugural belts that were basically created for her. There was no lineage to them at all, right? Including the ring championship she's won and stuff like that. So like she vastly overrated, but still much, much, much better than Savannah Marshall's resume. Savannah Marshall hasn't fought anybody to prepare her for what Shields is going to bring. So I kind of look at this fight, and it's true. Marshall can land a big punch. She can. Shields has been dropped. She's been dropped by girls who aren't as big and strong as Marshall is. It's true. That was a while ago. Shields can get unfocused. She's dabbled in MMA. Shields is very, very entitled. She's one of the more abrasive, difficult personalities in all of professional boxing. Part of the reason she jumped over to MMA is she felt she wasn't getting paid enough in boxing. She doesn't really bring much to the table, and her personality doesn't help. So she's also kind of added a Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury-esque kind of a element to this promotion. She's tried to. The promotion has done very, very good at silencing those flames and keeping that out of it. But Shields has tried to take it there a couple times. So she's kind of coming in loaded with some things that maybe will distract her, maybe will cause difficulty for her emotionally and all that. But just based on skills and overall, guys, based on experience and just the resume, I got to take Shields. I got to take Shields by decision in this fight. That's what I see. All right, let me check these super chats super duper quick, and then we can move on. You guys let me know if you think I'm crazy, but that's just the way I see these things. Anthony Santiago with the super chat. Thank you so much. Says Mike, or what's up, Mike in chat? As a Puerto Rican, the Miguel Cotto versus Sean Porter fantasy fight on Twitter was straight disrespectful. LOL. That's not a close fight at all. Yeah, so for those of you who, because I know you guys love when I talk about Twitter, somebody tweeted this out today. How would the fight between Miguel Cotto and Sean Porter go? You know, and there were people out there saying Porter would win. A lot of people are saying it'd be a close fight. And I immediately looked at that and I said 117, 111 Cotto. And I was probably being generous. As Miguel Cotto was a Hall of Famer. You know, he started at 140 and did the bulk of his work at 140, 147 before moving up to 54 and 60. And, you know, he fought a Canelo weight a couple times. But a lot of you guys remember him like at 154 or 155. But, man, at 147, he was really good. I know he lost that first fight to Margarito. I'm not even going to get into what was going on in that first fight. Outside of that, and he lost to Pacquiao, who's an all-time great. And that was a catch weight, whatever. Against Sean Porter, dude, I was ringside for several of Sean Porter's fights, but, you know, I thought he clearly lost to Errol Spence. I was ringside for that. I thought he clearly lost to Kell Brook. I was ringside for that. I see Cotto is better than those guys at his best. I just do. Errol Spence has a chance maybe to show that he's better, but he hasn't yet. So, yeah, I'm with you, dude. I like Sean Porter. Awesome guy. Good fighter. Got in there and fought everybody. By the way, so did Cotto. So that would be a fun fight, but you got to go with Miguel Cotto in that one. Come on. John Uden with the super chat. Thank you so much, John. He said, any word on the undercard for Zepeda versus Prograis? As good as that main event is, I don't want to go out to LA if Marv Nation can't get a solid co-main. Dude, I've heard nothing about it. Nothing. We still don't have a venue. We still don't have a location. Wait. Sorry. We don't have a network. I don't know what network this is on. I don't know if it's on DAZN, fucking ESPN. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I just hope the fight really does happen because Zepeda versus Prograis is a fantastic fight. Fantastic fight. Two guys I really enjoy watching. Let's see. Shadow Combat brings up an interesting point. Says Savannah Marshall also beat the women better than Claressa Shields beat. And you're mentioning that as the pros, right? Because Marshall's style is better for pro boxing. I agree. Look, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But styles do make fights. And that is a fair point. But I still got to go with Shields. I just look at who she has fought. There are several names on there that are much, much better than the girls Savannah Marshall has fought. That being said, all her distractions and everything she brings to it could work against her. I could certainly see that. Okay. Sam A says that Prograis and Zepeda November 26th at StubHub. Yeah, which I think that is a fight that belongs at StubHub. I think they'll actually do a good crowd if they price it right, which they will because that promotion understands the LA market. This last fight, Fundura Ocampo had a terrible crowd. I saw a couple of you guys tweet pictures and videos from the crowd. Couldn't believe it because, again, Fundura coming off that Fight of the Year candidate, and you had Mean Machine on there. You had Fernando Martinez, Juan Macias Montiel, Sebastian Fundora. You should have did a crowd there. I don't know if they just priced those tickets wrong or what. The thing is, dude, in LA, you have so many entertainment options. I mean, just in sports, guys, you have, I think, 3 professional soccer teams, 2 pro football teams, 2 pro hockey teams, 2 pro baseball, 2 pro basketball. You have every damn sport you can think of. And it's not just one pro team, it's multiple pro teams in the area. So like you're in the height of sports right now, right? Dodgers are in the playoffs and all that. Like you got to be smart about putting on a show there in Carson, and you got to price the tickets correctly. Anyway, that November 26th at StubHub, I think that's going to sell. I think that's going to sell. Old Dirty Boxing says the problem is it was a PBC showcase. Yeah, look, on paper, that main event was certainly a showcase fight. Undercard was good, but listen, man, I was there for Golovkin Rubio. That was a showcase fight. I mean, it was sanctioned by the sanctioning body. Rubio had to fight Golovkin, right? It was for like an interim belt or whatever. So it's not like a cherry pick or anything, but like the odds were crazy wide. The crowd didn't give a shit. The fight was over in like a round. No one gave a shit. So I've seen plenty of fights there where if it's done the right way, if it's promoted the right way, they'll show up, man. That's a fun venue. Sam with the super chat. Thank you so much. He said they had a soccer game also. Maybe that hurt the fight. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, StubHub, Dignity Health Sports, Home Depot, it is a tennis. There's like a tennis court there, and that's where they put the boxing matches and like the tennis. What do you call it? Tennis? You call it an arena? I don't know what you call it. But where the tennis court goes, they put a boxing ring. But then on the other side of it, there's a huge soccer field. And I think the LA Galaxy play there. For a while before the football stadium was built, the American Gridiron Football Stadium was built, the Chargers and the Rams played there. And, you know, they did big crowds. So, yeah, if you got a soccer game going there while that boxing event's going, that's just bad promotion, dude. It's just sometimes it's the who, what, when, where, and why, right? Chad says, oh, my God, am I stuffed? Chad, you got to tell us what you're eating, man. What do Canadians eat up there in Ontario for Canadian Thanksgiving? Let us know. What are you eating over there? I'm curious. Let's jump to the phones real quick. We got Nacho on the line. We know he's going to have some good stuff. Nacho, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Nothing much. Just listening to you, and I agree with most of the stuff you were talking about. That tweet about the PBC pay-per-views, like I told you on there, Mike, and a couple other people seem to agree with my sentiment. The defenders of the PBC who claim that they have no issues with them using pay-per-view as much as they do. I'm sorry, those people are not investing their money to buy those pay-per-views. And a lot of them have said that when you listen to other podcasts. Like, they literally have gone out of their way to claim that they're not actually purchasing any of those pay-per-views. So this idea that these defenders of the PBC being okay with pay-per-view, it's all hypocrisy, because in reality, they don't fork over their own money to purchase these fights. They get them through other means. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. So to us fans who actually do watch these fights and actually do pay for them, yeah, it's really hard to believe that they've really put on like 25 pay-per-views in the last 3 years. That's insane. And that's insulting to us fans who want to watch fights that literally we're getting bombarded with pay-per-views as much as they do it so often. It's just nuts. But I don't see it stopping anytime soon, because like someone said on another podcast, if they're legitimately not losing money on these pay-per-views, they're just going to keep milking it as long as they can. I mean, there's no incentive not to keep doing it. So I don't know. I don't know if that ever changes. As far as the fights this weekend, Mike, I was surprised that Ocampo went the distance. I thought Fundora was going to get him out of there probably in 9 or maybe less. And I give Ocampo credit for going the distance, but those scores were just completely insulting to Ocampo. It's almost like the judges gave him no credit whatsoever for the fight. I mean, one of the judges had it 11-1, and then the other one had it 10-2. I'm like, wow, like that's out of hand. I scored the fight 8-4 for Fundora. I thought that Ocampo won a few of the rounds towards the first half of the fight, and then he snuck 1 or 2, that were swing rounds that I gave to him as well. So it was just kind of crazy to see those scores being announced. It's like, wow, like sometimes you wonder why guys get so upset at these judges, and that, you bust your ass in there and you put a good effort out there and then you don't get rewarded. I mean, it's insulting to some of these guys. It's completely unfair. The thing that was really crazy, and Chad, I'm sure might bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up, was the whole thing with Jack Reese. Jack Reese at one point, Mike, tried to get involved in the fight by saying he wanted the fight stopped, even though Ocampo hadn't been dropped or hurt or wobbled or anything. And he was trying to get the corner to stop the doctor to stop the fight. And even Al Bernstein got upset during the broadcast. It was hilarious. Even he went in on Jack Reese for trying to do that, like trying to interject himself. I couldn't believe it. Reese is normally one of the better refs. Yeah. And for him to try to do that, it was just really bizarre. I don't get why he tried to stop the fight when it didn't need to be stopped. But, I mean, who knows? Martinez and Nankaj, it's kind of like we said on Friday, Mike. I thought Martinez was going to be a better fighter and having won the title, and he proved me right. He was just better than Nankaj. Nankaj kind of looks like a guy who probably needs to move up, because it looks like he had trouble getting down to 15, and I think he probably needs to move up, but I just don't see him being effective at 118. Like, he's already a small guy as it is at 15, and he's already getting beat up at 15. I would hate to see what some of these guys at 118 would do to him if he moves up. So I don't know what they do with him, but with Martinez, I think you're right. I think he's a really good addition to the mix at 15. Hopefully the PBC can get him involved with some of the bigger names, but I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. And then the Adamus Montiel fight, man, Adamus just totally caught, I think, me and a bunch of people off guard. I never expected him to stop Montiel. That was crazy how he just completely bombed him out and got him out of there. But I think people are kind of letting the hype get a little too big with Adamez. Just because he bombed out a guy that Charlo struggled with doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do that to Charlo.
Exactly.
I think Charlo would be a lot more competitive
Different
with
style,
Adamez.
man.
So I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit and not let that, go over their heads and start acting like Adamez is just going to blow out Charlo the same way he did with Montiel. And then lastly, with the fights, Mike, I'll just make my predictions. I think Haney wins a decision again. I think maybe Kambosos is a little bit more competitive, but I think he wins that clearly. I could see like 9-3, 8-4, but he should win it again. The women's fights, I agree with you. I think Shields probably pulls out a decision, although it's going to be close because they are fighting on the road.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling they might try to bend a little more towards Marshall if Marshall doesn't get some knockdowns or win some rounds. They might try to fudge the scorecards a little bit to try to make it a little closer, but I think Shields should win. And then the other one too, I agree, Mike. I don't think Mayer has been kind of like hyping up the fight by trash talking with Baumgartner, but I don't see her going toe to toe with her. I think she's going to be stick and move all night. I don't think she exchanges very often with Baumgartner, and I could see her, like you said, winning a decision as well. And then Wilder, Helenius, like you said, Mike, that's a complete setup. Anybody who thinks Helenius has a chance to win that fight, you're completely nuts. They made the fight for a reason. I think Wilder probably stops him in 8 or 9. And then with Darrell, I think Darrell is over the hill, Mike. He's 37 or 38 years old now. He's gotten beat up in a lot of fights, and then Benavidez beat him up really good. I think this is a showcase for Plant. I think Plant wins unanimous as well. I don't see Darrell having much left in the tank. I think Plant should win this easily. If he doesn't, then that's going to be a real bad look for Caleb. All right, Mike, I'm sure there's other people waiting.
All right, thanks, Nacho. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, all right, man.
I completely agree with Nacho and everything he said, man. Me and Nacho tend to see things the same way. And he does bring up a good point, though, about Darrell being a little bit long in the tooth, man. I mentioned the fact that he's only been stopped once, and that was against Benavidez. And obviously, Plant doesn't hit like Benavidez, just isn't nearly as aggressive. So I do see that fight going the distance, but I agree with Nacho that it's pretty much a showcase for Plant, and he should win. My question is, why didn't this fight between Plant and Darrell, why couldn't that have happened in the spring? Why couldn't we be seeing Plant versus Benavidez now? Think about it. I understand you want to get Plant back in the ring, get him paid. He got a massive, massive payday last year, but get him in there, and have this fight with him and Darrell, like in I don't know, April or something. And then get him and Benavidez in the ring now. There's a pay-per-view. Or put it to you this way. If Wilder Helenius was pay-per-view, but the co-main was Plant versus Benavidez, I don't think people would be bitching as much. I think people would see it like, oh, okay. This is okay. This is pretty solid. I don't love the main event, but it's heavyweight shit. That's fun. But man, this co-main is solid. I think people would see it a little differently. But hey, I guess I'm just crazy. Let's see. Oh, a couple of you guys saying Shields Marshall's a draw. So John Uden says Shields versus Marshall reeks of a draw to me. Will be close enough not to be controversial and milks the rivalry. And then Mohammed Shafiq agrees. Says Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall ends in a controversial draw. Shields will be viewed as the winner. Interesting. I could see that. Sam with another super chat. He says, I disagree about Wilder's chin. Helenius is a live dog. I listen, man, I feel you on that, but okay. I'm going to look up Robert Helenius's box rec right now. because I want to see who is he knocked out that has the frame of Wilder. That's a tall, long guy. Because as I talked about before, he struggles with tall, long guys. He got knocked out by Washington, who's every bit as tall as Wilder. Erkan Tepper, who is not as good as Wilder, but he's 6'5". Okay, he stopped that guy, but he's not on Wilder's level. Dillian White's shorter than Wilder, and he's more of a compact kind of guy, the inside fighter. But he actually went the distance with White. But it's funny, man. Washington stopped him, and so did Duapas. And Duapas dropped him twice. And those are tall, long dudes. You know, let's see. How tall is Duapas? He's got to be 6'5" or something. Okay, they list him as 6'5". So I don't know, dude. I'm looking at who he's fought. Who is he knocked out that's tall and long like that? You got to go way back to, like, I'm looking at, he fought Sergey Lakovic, but he was shot. He fought Derek Chisora way back in the day. He's not a Wilder type. There's just nobody on his resume that makes me think that. I still say if Helenius stops Wilder, that's the upset of the year. And I get that he could punch. He's a heavyweight. I get it, man. But it's really, if Helenius could land something in the first 2 rounds, this could get interesting. If we get into the 3rd round, Helenius hasn't landed anything yet, I think Wilder's going to stop him. All right, back to the phones we go. We got 317 on the show. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Mike? I just got done working out. And, dude, this is literally like perfect timing, you know. For me, I work out around this time, and I was going on YouTube because I work out the boxing matches. And I saw the Neutral Corner was live, and I was like, I got to work out. Sometimes that urge is just too much, you know. So
yeah.
I decided to work out. But luckily, you answered the phone right when I got done working out. And today I worked out to Lara versus Canelo. And that was a really good workout. I mostly went on like hard. I know it's kind of unrelated. I just want to talk about it real quick. I was going like hard body punches on the bag because that's what happened in the fight. And yeah, anyways, though, so I'm glad I could come on the show.
Cool. I'm glad you got a workout in, man. So what, you hit the bag or what?
So, yeah, I always stretch, then I shadow box, and then I'll just hit the bag. And then if my brother or dad are down, I do mitts with them.
Cool. All right.
Okay. So I haven't been listening. So what are your thoughts on the fights this weekend? Like each prediction.
Well, so real quick, man, I did a full breakdown, but I got Wilder sleeping Helenius. I got Plant decisioning Darrell. Haney decisioning Kambosos again. I got Shields winning by close decision over Marshall, and I got Mayer winning pretty wide decision over Bumgarner. That's what I got.
Interesting. Dude, I got Helenius for the upset just because if he does, I'll get insane odds on that. And Wilder doesn't have really a chance. You know, Fury doesn't hit that hard. So, but he just landed so much on Wilder that he just couldn't take it. And I think Helenius, would you say Helenius hits harder than Fury?
That's a good question. Fury doesn't hit hard in an explosive way, but Fury knows how to leverage like his height and his size, and he's a big dude punching down at you, but he's kind of slow and plodding. Not plodding, but slow the way he punches. Helenius is not fast at all, dude. He's kind of plodding and stuff. Maybe a little bit. Maybe I give him that edge over Fury. Yeah, sure. He probably hits harder. One punch power.
Okay, then Haney, Kambosos. I want to say Kambosos so bad, but I just don't see it, man. Give me Haney decision. The other fight, the female fights, I got Claressa Shields decision, but I want Savannah Marshall to win so bad. To quote one of the guys on boxing Twitter, yeah, I want Clarissa to drink a whole lot of that clean point water they got over there.
Oh, Jesus.
Nope. No, but actually, fuck Clarissa Shields. Then there's Mayer and Baumgartner. I don't know much about like either of those guys, so I'll just go what you say. I'll say Mayer. And then the other one, dude, I think Plant Darrell will be a fun one. When you rewatch Canelo Plant, bro, Canelo was taking like although they weren't hard shots, he was hit. I don't know if you remember, like against Plant, he was hit with some right hands that are like the flushest he's ever been hit with, that he's never like, he didn't even roll with at all. And we're like super flush. And Plant's good offensively. So I'd like to see if Plant can pull off the stoppage. But Darrell's a tough guy, so I think that's a pretty fun fight.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I hope they don't put us to sleep.
Then we got.
I hope they don't put us to sleep. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, man. So was there any updates that I missed that happened, like, in the boxing world right now?
Nah, same old shit, man. Same old shit. Fights not being signed. No, that's it.
Man, Crawford, Spence, I'm just done with that shit. Like, dude, I honestly, it's not even in, like, one of my favorite fights anymore. Like, honestly, when it happens, I'll just be like, not really interested anymore. But
I feel you,
yeah,
man.
and then, one thing I wanted to cover, I'm trying to think of something before I head off because I don't want to, I got to make these a little spicy. But, so what are the, Jake Paul, Anderson Silva. Even though that's like a joke of a fight, I think that'll actually be kind of fun.
I think that's pay-per-view too. I don't know what the price is, but yeah, that's pay-per-view, man.
Yeah, Showtime. There was a guy on, I just want to cover this real quick, on the Showtime fight this weekend. Who fought this weekend? I can't even remember.
Fundura.
Dude, he looks very vulnerable. I think if you just go to the body, you knock him out. I respect Fundora, but dude, he looks extremely limited.
Yeah, he didn't have a great performance, man. He really didn't.
Bro, and what the fuck was with Jack Reese saying, you got to show me something or I'm going to stop the fight? Are you fucking retarded, dude?
Yeah, I completely forgot about Jack Reese. I like Jack a lot, man, but he did not have a good night.
And then he said, I'm recommending fines for his corner stalling too long. Dude, I used to respect Jack Reese, but dude, go fuck yourself, honestly. And then what was the undercard fights? I want to cover these real quick.
Well, you had that Mean Machine fight. Mean Machine versus Michael Fox.
Yeah.
And then Fernando Vargas versus Jerwin Ancajas. Carlos Adamus knocked out Montiel. That was the performance of the night.
Oh, yeah, dude. I think Adamus will be a fun little fighter at middleweight. But the Michaela Fox versus Mean Machine, dude. When it comes to, if we're talking about if every fight started in round 2 and ended in round 3, Mean Machine is the best fighter on the planet. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he dropped Crawford, hurt Virgil Ortiz in those 2 rounds, and you saw how just rounds 2 and 3, just he's great in that. But anyways, Mike, you have a great week, man.
You too,
yeah, one more thing, Mike. One more thing. Yeah. No. One more thing I gotta call. So, dude, I texted you and I said that I was driving the other day. I was going 56 in the 40, and a cop pulled me over and he said he asked for my driver's license, and apparently you're supposed to switch within 30 days of moving to a new residence because I still had my Indiana license. You have to get a new license, and he said this license is expired, and I got a misdemeanor for driving with he said it was expired license, which is bullshit. But dude, I got to go to court for that shit, and it's like a $700 fine just because I didn't. It doesn't expire, but because it was an Indiana license, and it was the biggest bullshit ever, dude. Isn't that so stupid?
Damn, dude. Yeah, that's rough. That's right. Go to court and just play stupid. And maybe they'll waive that shit. I don't know, but damn, dude, $700. That sucks.
I already got a whole ass attorney. I already got a whole ass attorney and everything, bro. I'm good. I'm all right. But,
yeah, you'll be good.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
All right, Jack. Have a good one, man. All right, and Komik Kozai asking, what day are we, Mike, with the Spence Crawford fight not happening? I just checked. Today is day number 324 since Terrence Crawford's last fight with Top Rank. So he has been a free agent for 324 days. Damn. And that fight still ain't happened. And you know what? It ain't gonna happen this year. All right, guys, let's take one more call. Then we're gonna call it. Let's go to Sam here in New Orleans. What's up, Sam? How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, man.
I'm not a Helenius fan, but after seeing Wilder, take the beatings that he took in those 2 fights. I just think it's not going to take much to get him out of it. Now, can he hit him? We don't know. But this guy knocked that Polak out twice, I'm pretty sure. And that guy can take a punch. And he's got a real good right hand that could change a fight. And I think that's why the line went down in half. A lot of people saw that, this guy's got knockout power. Now, I know he's lost to some guys that aren't that great, but I think he's a live dog if he can catch Wilder early.
Yeah, that's my thing. If he catches Wilder early, he's got a chance. But I'm telling you, after the 3rd, 4th round, that's it. That's it. He should come out guns blazing.
Okay, I got a story. For you. We were talking about Carlos Monzon last week. Have you ever heard of Tony Licata?
Yes.
New Orleans fighter. But when I was 10 years old, my dad and mom were friends with his family, and he was like 40-0 or something like that, Tony. And they were talking about fighting Monzon. And my dad said, literally, do not do this. This guy's a killer. And Tony took the fight. His dad took the fight for $35,000 in New York. And they said, I didn't see the fight. I didn't go, but they said Tony was doing well for a while. And then Monzon, he's like Navarrete with those arms. He just constant punches. And he beat Tony so bad. He really changed his whole career. Like he never was the same. I mean, and so when I brought up Monzon with the cab drivers, I wasn't saying he was no good. I was just saying he had a lot of cab drivers mixed in with that 79 and up. But no, he was an animal. I mean, he reminds me of a middle. I saw a replay. You could go on YouTube and see when he fought Tony, and I think he knocked him out in like the 10th round or something. But he beat him up. I mean, he reminds me of Navarrete, like a 160-pound version of just nonstop, lanky, and power, and just So I was just trying to give you a little story. So I had something to do with part of Monzon, just knowing Tony. But yeah, he fucked him up. I mean, never was the same. Just a club fighter after that.
Yeah, Licata he was Italian and Chinese, right?
Yeah, his dad looked Chinese or something.
I think he was Italian and Chinese and from New Orleans. That's a hell of a combination. It's a hell of a combo.
His dad's name was Ralph Chong.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, that was an interesting background.
I had to be friends with him after that, but for $35,000, it's almost like when Kell Brook took the fight against Golovkin. At least he got $5 million, but it was a mistake. He ruined his whole career.
Yeah.
And but Monzon, I remember my dad telling him, like, dude, do not take that fight. This guy's a killer, and he took it. And Tony, this was no match for that guy,
Yeah, I mean, there's levels, right? That's just because after that, I actually just pulled up his box rec. He that was for the WBA belt. Monzon had the WBA at that point, and I think Licata had only lost once, and it was a majority decision. It was a close fight, and he lost to Ramon Mendez, and then he beat him in a rematch. So, but after Monzon, man, he lost multiple times. He was stopped multiple times after that. Just wasn't the same guy.
He got knocked down his next fight, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, he did. Yep.
Last thing about the fights this way, I'm not going to go all of them. The bet of the year is Haney minus 700. Don't take the knockout. Don't take anything. Just give 7-1, and it's stealing. If you got the money, put it up. I mean, he's not going to lose to this guy. Guy can't lay a glove on him. And it's almost, he reminds me of Floyd. Guy can't hit him. So I'd give the 7-1. Hopefully it'll go down a little bit, but that's still, he should be 15-1, like Wilder was. And but anyway, I'll let you guys. Good to talk to you.
All right, good to hear from you, Sam. Have a good one, brother.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys, that's it. That's the show. All right, have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you Friday. We'll do it again right before the big Saturday of boxing. So at least we got a lot of boxing this weekend. Have a great week. I'll see you at the fights. Peace.